precursor of glucose. So, as a review, we have actually here, I'm talking about the aerobic and anaerobic, and I think you are familiar with these two different situations. Whenever you have a sufficient oxygen is sufficient. You know what's not sufficient? Coffee. Enough. Okay? So the metabolism is as a type of aerobic. But whenever, as I mentioned, you have a lack of mitochondria, okay? Mitochondria is not present, or you actually have a very, very severe exercise, you actually are at a risk of hypoxia. Hypoxia means that the pressure of oxygen is low, okay? So in this situation, you have an anaerobic metabolism. And sometimes we have a fermentation, and this process is more important, especially in the bacteria and in the microorganisms. I want to start with the glycolysis. And as I know, you have some background information, alhamdulillah. Okay? So, what is the glycolysis pathway? How many reactions, step by step? How many reactions? 10. What is the purpose of this pathway? يحتاج ATP? Whenever you require energy, this pathway is active. So, because in the next slide I will review the regulation, you should know that ATP is one of the regulator of this pathway. So, please tell me, if you have a high amount of ATP, it acts as an activator or inhibitor? Inhibitor. What about AMP?
Activator.
AMP is a symbol of hungry, starvation. So whenever, in all metabolic pathway, whenever you have a high AMP, okay, or high ADP sometimes, it means that the level of energy is low. So no matter what is the reaction or metabolic, maybe it's regarded as a fatty acid oxidation, or I don't know, carbohydrate metabolism, any pathway that produces energy can suppress by the ATP and can activate by the AMP. Because, as I mentioned, ATP means that I'm full, okay? Everything is okay. But AMP considered as a hungry marker. This is actually my expression. All the time I use this word. I cannot change it.
No problem.
You know what's a no? It's okay. In Farsi, all the time we say it's okay. You know, this is another pronunciation of khub. Khub is مشدود. Okay? When we say khub, it means that alhamdulillah everything is good. Pardon?
You are Khabri.
خوبي.
You are
خوبي خوبي شلونك؟ خوبي شلونك؟ I want to change the class, the Farsi class.
Are you good?
If you review the slides, we can classify the glycolysis in two stages. Okay, and we can classify into 5 and 5. Okay, during the first 5 reactions, you expand your money. Okay, you expand your ATP to activate your glucose. Another point that should be considered is that whenever you have a phosphor form of molecule, it means that it has a high energy. Please tell me, between glucose and glucose 6-phosphate, which one has a higher energy?
Glucose
6-phosphate. For example, about fructose and fructose 6-phosphate.
Sure, fructose.
What about fructose? Fructose 6-phosphate, fructose 1 and 6-phosphate. it means that you increase the level of energy. And now this high level of energy is ready to enter to the second 5-step of glycolysis to release the ATP. Clear? So, as you can see here, you have a phosphorylated form of intermediate like glucose and fructose. And the subsequent reaction considered as the energy generation. I want to review one by one together. Let's find out. At first, glucose, convert to the glucose 6-phosphate. Please pay attention. Please pay attention to the position of phosphate. This is not 1-phosphate. We have a glucose 1-phosphate, but not here. Okay? Glycogen. You know, when we want to detach glucose from glycogen, you detach glucose 1-phosphate. Okay? But in a glycolysis, you have a glucose 6-phosphate. What is the name of enzyme? Hexokinase. Or glucokinase. In the next slide, I will talk about the difference between hexokinase and glucokinase. The second reaction. What is important? No. I want to direct your attention to the reversible and irreversible reaction. Another point, you know, this is a common point in metabolism all the time. Please consider this one and memorize it. All the time. Whenever you have a one direction, like this one, irreversible, okay? It means that this reaction is regulatory, okay? So whenever you have an irreversible, it means that these are important enzymes and you can control the pathway by this enzyme. So the first regulatory enzyme of the glycolysis is hexokinase. What about the second one? Is it regulatory? No. After isomerization, what is the difference between glucose and fructose? Do you remember?
The free bond.
Yes, and
Aldehyde.
Uh-huh.
it's ketose.
Ahsanti. Okay? When we say these are isomerization, it means that you change aldehyde, like glucose, to the ketose, like fructose. So because of this one, the name of the enzyme is isomerase. So by the isomerase, fructose 6-phosphate is produced. Okay, I have to spend my second ATP to increase more the level of energy. Now, fructose 1 and 6-5-phosphate, please consider this molecule as a very high energetic molecule. Okay? This is full of energy. Okay? But you can you get energy? No. You should continue the pathway to release its energy. What is the name of the enzyme that converted fructose 6-phosphate?
Fructokinase 1.
Is it regulatory?
Yes.
Yes. If I ask you, if you review this slide, we have 3 important enzyme, regulatory enzyme. One of them is the most important, and this one is the phosphofructokinase. So, if I ask you only